That's just a view I can admire for days, guys. I'll tell you what. Back into that RZR is super sexy. She's looking good, but man, she's going to get a whole lot better. Today's first step towards building this little race car is getting these shocks set up proper for what's to come. So we're going to take these rear shocks off, these Fox shocks, and check this out. Woohoo! Super sick set of springs, crossover rings, sway bar links, shock therapy goodness, guys. So we're gonna get the rears done today. I've got some spanner wrenches I picked up from them. I hope these little Tusk spring compressors work, man, because I don't have a vise and I don't have a super fancy spring compressor, but I'm thinking Tusk is gonna come through. So that's today's project. Let's get this car up in the air. Let's get these rear shocks off. See how this goes, guys. I'm excited. All right, before we get this thing jacked up, I'm gonna get these reservoirs unbolted, get them set on this bag. I gotta get this out of the way here real quick. All right, and we're gonna get this little cover taken off so we can get the reservoir poked through the bottom. Wish I had that Tusk UTV jack. You guys seen that, man? It's like 750 bucks. I really want that. Not right now, but I feel like I'm gonna have it in my future. But it is nice. Get rid of this whole thing, get the whole car up off the ground at once. Getting the top and bottom bolts undone. But before we take the shock off, I'm going to break those lock rings loose because I don't have a vise. Do that before I get it off the car. So I think because I don't have a vise and a super fancy spring compressor, I think I'm just going to go ahead and loosen these up on the car, and then once I get all the tension off these springs, I'll take the shock off. I think that's going to be the easier route, at least on the rears. Alright, well that was super easy, so I'm going to go ahead and get that other side off, and then we'll get to putting the new springs on. Alright, sorry I don't have a table, but I don't have a table, so. Here is one of the rear shocks. We got both of them off. Before you take the spring and the perch and this rock guard off, there is your bump stop, your rubber bump stop down here. It's easier to use a flat blade screwdriver between the spring coils to pry that up. You want it a couple inches away from the spring perch to make things easier. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit more room here. All right, so there's your perch, your rock guard, and you're gonna obviously reuse those, so just save them. We'll be able to pull this spring off the bottom. You're going to reuse the spacer. You can get rid of that tiny little top spring, and then the top plastic piece can stay in place. So let's go ahead and get the shock body cleaned up, and then I'll walk you guys through how to put on the upper and lowers for the shock therapy kit. Alright, so I can tell you right now, with the shock body cleaned up, looking things over, the spring compressors aren't going to be enough to get these springs completely squashed to get everything put back together. So there are specific adjustments for the lock ring and the preload adjuster ring, 5 inches specifically from the bottom of the oil reservoir tube to the bottom of the collar. We're just going to get that done on the car. I've got them all the way up to the top right now. We're going to put the springs on, and we're still going to have to compress them a little bit to get everything put back together. and we'll do that final adjustment on the car. So before we get the springs on, you've got your crossover rings. Okay, you've got 2 of these for each shock, and they have a flat side and they've got a recessed side. The flat sides of these crossover rings need to butt up against one another. Recessed side is going to face up, recessed side is going to face down. The down side is going to hold your O-ring in place, okay? So make sure before you go spinning these all the way up here, because it's going to take you a minute, that you got the flat sides against one another. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get this thing flipped upright, and we're going to get these crossover rings put on real quick. One crossover ring, get that started. And we're going to get this other guy started. And what you're looking for is to get the bottom side of your bottom crossover ring 11 inches to the bottom of the oil line. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to get these spun down here, and then we'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so the crossover rings, you want to measure from the bottom of this section right here, your oil line, okay? You're going to butt up your tape measure to it, and you want to get 11 inches to the bottom. I went too far. Almost. I think I'm right about there. 11 inches exactly. So that's what we're looking for. We're going to get these just locked against one another real quick. And then you're going to take your O-ring. You're just going to roll it up the shock body here. And again, that's just going to sit in that recessed side of that bottom crossover ring. So now that that's done, we're going to get the shock back upright and get these springs on there. All right. So each spring's marked. I don't know if I said that earlier. This one says rear upper. This one says rear lower. So they mark all of them so you don't mess that up. So you're going to take the rear upper, slide that on there first. Your plastic spacer, it's got arrows, one on either side pointing down. You're going to have those pointing down because you're going to use those arrows to clock the springs basically. Where the arrow is, you're going to line up. Where are you? You're going to line up the end of the spring on either side so that they're opposite of each other once you get this put back together. So now that the spacer's on there, we can go ahead and put on the bottom spring. Fortunately, with those maxed out, I can actually get everything put back together. Don't have to use the spring compressors. It'll be a little bit of an extra adjustment on the once they're up, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and get these put back on the RZR, and then we'll do the final adjustment for the preload and lock ring up top. We'll just do that on the car with the spanner wrench. Be a little bit easier with 2 people, but at least on these ones, get this fed up through here. Those out of the way. Basically is the final adjustment before I can drop everything back down is the preload collar needs to be 5 inches from the underneath side of the oil line, just like we did for the crossover ring, 5 inches to the bottom of the preload collar. So I've got about 1.5 inches to go, and we're just going to go ahead and use a spanner wrench, maybe use the hands a little bit and get that thing cranked back down where it needs to be. Let's see what we got. pretty much 5 inches exactly. Should be now. That's it, 5 inches exactly. All right, so everything's done. We're just gonna go ahead and just drop it back down and cover what we did. Okay. That actually wasn't really, excuse me. Yeah, that really wasn't all that difficult. In fact, it was really easy. Surprisingly, I was a little bit more intimidated by doing springs for some reason myself. It just seems complicated. It seems like you need big machines and cool things to do it. Turns out you don't, and everything turned out great. So there are more adjustments, but again, got these preload collars locked down at 5 inches on the car, which wasn't a big deal. And God bless America. So we're supposed to check ride height and all of that kind of stuff, but that's all I can get to for today. And obviously we still got the front springs to do. So that's it for today, guys. I want to get these rears done, get a jump on it, and we'll have to follow up here in a couple of days to get the fronts done and get everything caught up. And then we'll check ride heights and make any final adjustments and all that good stuff. But really super duper easy. And I mean, does it look awesome or what? Obviously I can't wait to actually feel the difference. Talk about some serious springs compared to what was on their stock, but just looking at it with things to come, yes, we needed more silver back here because everything that's coming is going to go really nicely with it. Really super easy. Don't be intimidated by it. Didn't even need the spring compressors. It's good to have on hand just in case, but you can do it simply by doing the top ring once it's on the car. You don't have to do it ahead of time if you don't want to. It wasn't that bad. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and comment, subscribe if you guys haven't already. This is just the start of an awesome build. Huge things coming, obviously. I keep saying that, but you know what it is. Things are on their way, and when it's done, it's going to be freaking phenomenal. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next video here in a couple of days. Bye.